Most gardeners spend hundreds of dollars building raised beds, buying bigger containers, and searching for more space, while ignoring the single most productive growing area they already own. It's standing there right now. Your fence. That plain wooden fence, chain-link fence, or simple wire panel could become a living wall producing baskets of fresh vegetables without stealing another square foot of garden space. And here's the surprising part, some climbing vegetables actually become easier to care for when they grow upward. Their leaves dry faster after rain. Air flows more freely. Harvesting becomes simpler. Some even need less supplemental watering once deep roots are established because they can take advantage of rainfall and moisture stored deeper in the soil. Today I'm counting down 12 incredible climbing vegetables that can transform an empty fence into one of the hardest working parts of your garden. One of them eventually becomes the natural sponge sitting in your bathroom. Another is usually allowed to crawl across half the garden, even though it climbs beautifully. And the number one plant can turn a fence into a spectacular wall loaded with giant hanging fruits that nobody expects to see growing vertically. Before we begin, look at your fence. If it's empty, by the end of this video, you'll probably never see it the same way again. Before we start, the 4 golden rules. Instead of repeating the same watering advice throughout this video, remember these 4 simple rules. Rule 1: Never water because the calendar tells you to. Water because the soil actually needs it. Rule 2: Mulch is your silent irrigation system. A few inches of organic mulch can dramatically slow evaporation and help rainfall stay in the soil much longer. Rule 3: Deep roots drink yesterday's rain. Once climbing vegetables are established, many can reach moisture hidden well below the dry surface. Rule 4: Grow upward whenever possible. Vertical plants receive better airflow, healthier foliage, cleaner fruit, and use almost no ground space. Keep these 4 rules in mind, because every vegetable on this list benefits from them. Now let's climb our fence. Number 12. Sugar snap peas. Most people think growing without constant watering means choosing plants that love scorching heat. Sugar snap peas prove the opposite. Their secret isn't drought tolerance. It's perfect timing. Instead of fighting summer, these vines race through the cool, naturally wet weeks of spring. That means Mother Nature often does most of the watering for you. As soon as winter loosens its grip in zones 3 through 6, sow seeds directly into cool soil. Spring rains, melting snow, and mild temperatures create ideal growing conditions before summer heat arrives. The vines quickly grab onto netting, wire, or fencing using tiny curling tendrils. Within weeks, an empty fence transforms into a curtain of bright green vines covered with crisp edible pods. Here's where many gardeners accidentally fail. They plant too late. Once temperatures climb, peas slow down dramatically. Instead, let them finish before summer reaches full strength. If you garden in warmer climates, simply reverse the schedule. Plant during late summer or early fall and let cooling weather do the hard work. Harvest pods while they're young, sweet, and crisp. The more often you pick, the more flowers the vines produce. It's one of the easiest ways to turn cool spring rain into baskets of fresh food without dragging a hose across the garden. Transition. Our next plant climbs even higher, produces breathtaking flowers, and quietly improves your garden while feeding you. Number 11. Pole beans. If one vegetable deserves the title of vertical garden champion, it's pole beans. Unlike bush beans that spread across valuable garden space, pole beans think only one direction, up. Give them a fence, and they'll reward you by climbing 6 to 10 feet into the air, producing bean after bean for months instead of weeks. Even better, they naturally enrich the soil by partnering with beneficial bacteria that capture nitrogen from the atmosphere. That means healthier soil for future crops. Once the soil has warmed after your last frost, sow seeds directly where they'll grow. Within days, slender vines begin searching for something to grab. After they find your fence, they practically climb by themselves. Soon you'll have a living green wall covered with dangling pods that are easy to spot and harvest. Because the leaves shade the ground beneath them, the soil stays cooler and loses moisture more slowly. Combined with mulch and regular rainfall, many gardeners discover they can skip far more watering sessions than they expected. Here's the mistake to avoid. Don't overfeed with nitrogen fertilizer. Too much nitrogen creates a beautiful jungle of leaves, but surprisingly few beans. Instead, let the plants focus on flowering. Harvest every couple of days while pods are still slender and tender. Leave mature pods hanging too long, and the vines assume their job is finished. Frequent harvesting tells the plant to keep producing. By midsummer, your once empty fence can become a vertical pantry producing fresh beans almost daily. Number 10. Scarlet runner beans. If you could grow one plant that feeds your family and turns your fence into a hummingbird magnet, scarlet runner beans would be hard to beat. Before the first bean even appears, brilliant scarlet red flowers cover the vines like tiny lanterns, attracting bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds all summer long. Many people grow them just for their beauty, never realizing they're also growing one of the most productive climbing vegetables. Unlike many beans that struggle in intense heat, scarlet runner beans actually prefer cooler summers. That's why they perform especially well in northern regions and areas with regular rainfall. Plant them after the last frost once the soil has warmed. Then step back. Healthy vines can climb 8 to 12 feet, wrapping themselves around wire fencing, string, or sturdy trellises with almost no help from you. Within a few weeks, your ordinary fence disappears behind a dense wall of green leaves and dazzling flowers. Young pods are tender and delicious when picked early. If you leave a few pods to mature, the large beans inside become excellent for soups, stews, and long-term storage. Here's a trick many gardeners don't know. Keep harvesting. The more young pods you remove, the more flowers the plant produces. But if you allow every pod to mature at once, the vine believes its mission is complete and slows down. So keep picking, and let the harvest continue for weeks. Transition. Beautiful flowers are nice, but our next plant solves a problem almost every gardener faces every summer. Number 9. Malabar spinach. Every summer, ordinary spinach gives up. Temperatures rise. Leaves become bitter. Plants bolt almost overnight. Malabar spinach does exactly the opposite. It waits for the hottest days of the year, and then explodes into growth. Despite its name, it isn't true spinach, but its thick, glossy leaves are harvested and cooked in many of the same ways. If regular spinach quits in July where you live, this vine happily takes over. Plant only after the soil is truly warm. Cold weather keeps it sleepy, but once temperatures stay above about 65 degrees Fahrenheit 18 degrees Celsius, growth becomes astonishingly fast. The vines naturally twist around fences and trellises, often reaching 8 to 12 feet by late summer. Within weeks, a bare fence transforms into a lush wall of edible leaves. The thick, slightly succulent foliage also handles hot weather far better than traditional spinach. Instead of harvesting the whole plant, simply pinch off young leaves and tender growing tips whenever you need them. Every harvest encourages even more branching and fresh growth. It's almost like having a living salad wall that keeps refilling itself. One bonus many gardeners overlook: the attractive red berries that appear later can even be used as a natural food coloring, although they're not grown primarily for eating. When the hottest part of summer arrives and other leafy greens begin disappearing, Malabar spinach is just getting started. Transition. Now let's move to one of the biggest space wasters in most vegetable gardens. Number 8. Cucumbers. Here's a question. Why do so many gardeners let cucumbers crawl across the ground, when the plant was practically designed to climb? Those tiny curling tendrils aren't there by accident. They're nature's built-in climbing hooks. Give cucumbers a fence, cattle panel, or sturdy trellis, and they'll eagerly pull themselves upward. The difference is remarkable. Instead of leaves sitting on damp soil where fungal diseases thrive, the foliage dries faster after rain. Air circulates more freely. Fruits hang in plain sight instead of hiding beneath a jungle of leaves. And harvesting suddenly becomes quick and easy. Choose vigorous vining varieties, not compact bush types. After your last frost, plant into rich, well-drained soil and guide the first few vines toward the support. Once the tendrils grab hold, the plant does almost everything else. Here's the mistake nearly everyone makes. They wait too long to harvest. A cucumber can go from perfect to oversized in just a few days during warm weather. Large fruits packed with mature seed signal the plant to slow production. Pick them while they're young, crisp, and tender. The reward? More flowers, more cucumbers, and a much longer harvest season. Perhaps the biggest surprise is how much garden space you recover. Instead of covering an entire bed, your cucumbers grow almost straight up, leaving plenty of room underneath for other crops. Sometimes the best gardening upgrade isn't buying another raised bed, it's simply teaching your vegetables to climb. Number 7. Lofah. What if I told you one of the most useful things in your bathroom started life hanging from a garden fence? Not in a factory. Not in the ocean. On a vine. Lofah is one of the most fascinating vegetables you can grow because the same fruit gives you two completely different harvests. Pick it young, about 4 to 6 inches long, and it cooks much like zucchini, with a mild, tender flavor perfect for stir-fries and soups. Leave it on the vine until fully mature, and something amazing happens. The soft flesh slowly disappears, revealing a strong network of natural fibers inside. That's the famous lofah sponge. One plant. Dinner in summer. Natural cleaning sponges in autumn. Few vegetables can claim that. Lofah loves long, warm growing seasons. In cooler regions, start seeds indoors about 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost, then transplant after the soil has warmed. In warmer climates, sow directly once nights stay consistently warm. Once established, the vines grow with astonishing speed. It's not unusual for them to stretch 15 to 20 feet in a single season, quickly covering fences, cattle panels, or pergolas with large green leaves and bright yellow flowers. Because mature fruits become surprisingly heavy, always give lofah a strong support. A lightweight trellis may bend under the weight. Here's the mistake that disappoints many first-time growers. They harvest every fruit too early. If your goal is food, harvest young. If your goal is sponges, leave selected fruits until the skin turns brown, feels dry, and becomes much lighter. Peel away the outer skin, shake out the seeds, rinse the fibers, and you've created your own biodegradable sponge. Every time you use it, you'll remember it once hung in your garden like any other vegetable. Our next plant gives you something most gardeners never realize they're growing: 2 harvests from one crop. Number 6. Sweet potatoes. Most people spend the entire season waiting for what's happening underground, while completely ignoring what's happening above it. Sweet potatoes are famous for their delicious tubers. But their vigorous vines hide another edible secret. The tender leaves and young shoots are also delicious, especially when lightly sautéed or added to soups. That means one plant can provide fresh greens throughout summer while quietly growing a harvest beneath the soil. Instead of letting those vines crawl across pathways and smother neighboring plants, gently guide them onto a fence or wide mesh. Unlike beans, sweet potatoes don't naturally cling tightly, so you'll need to weave young vines through the support every week or two. Once the foliage thickens, it creates a stunning green wall. Sweet potatoes love heat. Plant only after all danger of frost has passed and the soil has become thoroughly warm. The first few weeks are all about building a strong root system. After that, the plants become much more resilient during dry spells than many shallow-rooted vegetables. Their deepening roots help them tap into moisture stored below the surface, especially when mulch protects the soil from intense summer sun. Just remember one important rule. Don't harvest too many leaves. Occasional picking encourages fresh growth, but removing excessive foliage reduces the plant's ability to feed the developing tubers underground. By autumn, while everyone admires the lush wall of vines climbing your fence, the real treasure is quietly waiting beneath your feet. Sometimes the biggest harvest is the one you can't even see. Now let's talk about one of the world's most misunderstood vegetables. Number 5. Bitter melon. Bitter melon has a reputation. Many people grow it once, taste it, and never plant it again. But here's the surprising truth. The biggest mistake usually isn't growing bitter melon. It's harvesting it too late. This tropical vine thrives when summer becomes hot and humid. While many vegetables slow down in extreme heat, bitter melon keeps climbing, flowering, and producing fruit almost non-stop. Its delicate tendrils eagerly grab fences and trellises, allowing vines to reach 10 to 15 feet in a single growing season. Before long, your fence is covered with deeply cut green leaves and unusual bumpy fruits that look unlike anything else in the vegetable garden. Plant after the soil has fully warmed, or start seeds indoors if your growing season is short. Once vigorous growth begins, the vines become remarkably productive. Here's the secret experienced growers know. Never judge bitter melon by size alone. Young green fruits are much milder and have a pleasant balance of flavor. Leave them until they begin turning yellow, and the bitterness becomes far stronger while the fruit starts focusing on seed production. Check the vines every couple of days during peak season. Harvest while fruits are firm, green, and glossy. The more often you pick, the more new flowers appear. In many Asian, African, and Caribbean cuisines, bitter melon is prized not despite its flavor, but because of it. Once prepared correctly, its unique taste becomes something people actively look forward to each summer. Sometimes the vegetable people avoid is simply the one they haven't learned to harvest at the right moment. Number 4. Indeterminate tomatoes. If there's one vegetable gardeners love to fuss over, it's tomatoes. The moment the afternoon sun makes the leaves droop slightly, many people rush for the hose. But here's something surprising. A healthy tomato plant growing in the ground is far tougher than most gardeners realize. Once established, indeterminate tomatoes develop deep, wide-reaching root systems that can tap into moisture long after the soil surface has dried. That's why these varieties are perfect for growing vertically. Unlike determinate tomatoes, which stop growing after reaching a certain size, indeterminate varieties continue climbing, flowering, and producing fruit until frost finally ends the season. Given a sturdy fence, trellis, or strong support system, they can easily reach 6 to 10 feet tall, and sometimes even higher in long growing seasons. Because tomatoes don't naturally climb, tie the stems loosely with soft garden ties as they grow. Doing this every week is much easier than trying to rescue a collapsed plant loaded with heavy fruit. Another advantage of growing upward is airflow. Leaves dry faster after rain, sunlight reaches more of the plant, and harvesting becomes much easier because ripe tomatoes hang right in front of you instead of hiding beneath tangled branches. Here's another mistake gardeners often make. They water lightly every single day. That encourages shallow roots. Instead, allow the roots to search deeper into the soil where moisture lasts much longer. Combined with mulch and regular rainfall, deeply rooted plants often need far less supplemental watering than people expect. As fruits begin changing from green to their mature color, don't feel pressured to leave every tomato on the vine until it's fully soft. Many varieties continue ripening beautifully after harvest, especially when heavy rain threatens to crack ripe fruit. Sometimes the healthiest tomato isn't the one watered the most, it's the one encouraged to build the strongest roots. Our next plant usually steals half the garden, unless you convince it to climb. Number 3. Cantaloupe, muskmelon. Imagine walking into your garden and finding sweet melons hanging in the air instead of hiding beneath sprawling vines. That's exactly what happens when you grow cantaloupe vertically. Most gardeners let melon vines spread across pathways and neighboring beds. But with a sturdy fence and the right variety, those same vines can create a beautiful living wall while freeing up valuable growing space underneath. Young vines naturally climb using curling tendrils. Guide them toward the support, and they'll quickly begin weaving themselves upward. As the fruits develop, one simple addition makes all the difference. Support each melon with a soft fabric sling. The sling gently carries the fruit's weight, protecting the vine while allowing the melon to continue ripening naturally. Plant after the soil has thoroughly warmed because melons love heat. During the first few weeks, focus on helping the roots establish. Once mature, mulch helps preserve rainfall, while the deeper roots access moisture hidden below the surface. Watch carefully as harvest approaches. A ripe cantaloupe announces itself. The fragrance becomes sweet and unmistakable. The rind develops its characteristic color. And on many varieties, the stem begins slipping naturally from the fruit. That's nature telling you it's ready. Growing melons vertically doesn't just save space. It turns every ripening fruit into a beautiful display hanging like ornaments across your garden fence. Now we're entering the final two, the biggest space hogs in most vegetable gardens. Number 2. Winter squash. Winter squash has one bad habit. It refuses to stay where you planted it. A single vine can spread across pathways, weave through neighboring vegetables, and quietly take over an entire garden bed before you even notice. But there's a smarter solution. Grow upward. Smaller varieties like delicata and acorn squash are excellent candidates for vertical growing. Their tendrils naturally grab strong fencing and sturdy trellises, lifting vines into the air while opening valuable ground space below. As fruits begin gaining weight, support them with simple fabric slings. It's a small step that prevents stems from breaking and allows the squash to mature safely. Unlike summer squash, patience is everything. These fruits aren't meant to be harvested young. Wait until the rind becomes firm enough that your fingernail barely scratches the surface. Then harvest with several inches of stem still attached. That little stem dramatically increases storage life. Properly cured winter squash can remain fresh for months. Long after frost has ended your gardening season, these fruits are still feeding your family. One fence, months of food. That's hard to beat. And finally, the king of climbing vegetables. Number 1. Pumpkins. Most people believe pumpkins belong only in huge gardens. They're not completely wrong. Given enough room, pumpkin vines happily spread in every direction, swallowing pathways and covering huge sections of the yard. But here's what many gardeners never discover. Small and medium-sized pumpkin varieties climb surprisingly well. Their strong tendrils naturally grip sturdy fencing, cattle panels, and heavy-duty trellises, turning an ordinary fence into a breathtaking wall of hanging pumpkins. It's one of the most dramatic transformations any vegetable garden can produce. Choose compact varieties instead of giant pumpkins. As fruits enlarge, support each one with a fabric sling to reduce stress on the vine. The result is almost magical. Instead of searching beneath a jungle of leaves, pumpkins hang proudly at eye level, making them easy to inspect and harvest. As autumn approaches, watch for the final signs of maturity. The rind hardens. The stem begins drying. The color deepens into the rich shade of the variety you've chosen. Harvest with a portion of stem attached, then cure and store them in a cool, well-ventilated place. Many pumpkins remain usable for months after harvest. That means your fence isn't just producing vegetables for today's dinner, it's producing food for the seasons ahead. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson of this entire countdown. The most valuable growing space in your garden may never have been another raised bed. It may have been the empty fence you've walked past every single day. Today we've explored 12 incredible climbing vegetables that can transform an ordinary fence into a productive wall of food. You don't need to grow every one of them. Start with one or two that match your climate, your growing season, and the space you already have. A single fence can produce peas in spring, beans in summer, and pumpkins in autumn, all without taking over the rest of your garden. So before you buy another raised bed or give up because you're running out of space, take one more look at that empty fence. It might be the most productive part of your garden waiting to happen. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these climbing vegetables are you most excited to grow this season? Or is there another favorite that deserves a place on this list? Share your experience in the comments, it might help another gardener discover their next successful crop. If you enjoyed this guide, Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more science-backed gardening tips, space-saving ideas, and practical growing guides. Until next time, happy gardening.